Hello, welcome to the 11th, crazy, right, episode of Evan's Game Plan Podcast. We are here joined by a man of many talents, football coach, man, what else? Everything, right?
Well, you say a jack of all trades and master of none, right?
Right, exactly. Welcome, Coach Gatewood.
Hey, thank you very much.
Of course, man. How have you been?
Been good, man. Been good. Just getting into the spring and enjoying this warmer weather.
I know, right? It feels
So,
really, really nice outside.
It's great outside, just chilly at night, but then in the daytime's just right.
And I'm not waking up in the morning anymore feeling like I should dress in layers, Because spring is confusing sometimes, man. When it first starts, it's always like it's cold in the morning. Then we got like 80-degree weather in the middle, man.
Yeah, they can't make its mind up, right?
I know.
Yeah.
It really, especially in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Man, that's the worst.
Of all places.
Oh yeah. And I've heard that, dude. Tennessee's weather, people just call it bipolar.
Yeah, bipolar.
It is. It is.
Inconsistent.
One of the best examples is Tennessee for weather like that. So, Coach Gatewood, what has motivated you to become a football coach?
Well, I think I've been really blessed in the fact that, I've played for a couple of Hall of Fame coaches, and then I've had the opportunity to work with and for some Hall of Fame coaches. And I think the biggest thing is, having the opportunity to develop relationships with young people and to teach, and educate young people and other adults. But what's important, how to prioritize, how to achieve a certain goal and a certain end result that you're trying to get, and that's just a life lesson,
Yeah, of course.
Eventually, you're going to try to get somewhere. There's always an end where you're not an end, but there's always an objective,
a journey somewhere you want to be,
an objective that you want to achieve. And so I got into that. I was blessed to have great people around me to coach me and teach me and mentor me. That showed me that it was how important it was to develop these life skills through athletics.
Of course, and I've talked to many different coaches on here at this point, coaching a variety of sports from like soccer to baseball to I've covered it all, and all of them have said that coaching teaches so much more than just a game.
Well, it is, and you hit the nail on it. It's a game,
right?
Okay, let's keep that in perspective.
Yeah,
it is a game. But I mean, there's the you got to have accountability. You got to have discipline.
Of course.
You got to have faith. You got to have an ability to trust.
Of course.
So there's a lot of these factors that roll into it that make it special.
Do you ever feel pressure to keep those factors weighed into the team?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
On a daily basis.
Yeah.
Because there's always an opportunity. There's always a circumstance or a situation that's going to come up, and every one of those circumstances are different. So you got to handle them accordingly. I think I prefer to say we paint it and live in a gray area because not all circumstances are the same.
Right. Yeah, so you're always finding out new things,
Absolutely.
Even though you're a coach, you're still learning through whatever you're doing.
Well, absolutely. If we stop learning, then we're insignificant.
Yeah, exactly. Of course.
You got to keep trying to do something a little bit better, and everything can be improved.
Of course. So, I know you've said that you were taught by some Hall of Fame coaches. So you think inspirations are really big for things like that?
I think role models are important.
Yeah.
I think role models are important, and there's been different celebrities or athletes or individuals out there that have come and said, "I'm not a role model." Well, in spite of what you're saying, you really are.
Yeah.
Because people's eyes are upon you.
100%.
And so everybody's going to handle it differently, but I think role models are important because a lot of times we have to see how others do things. Sometimes.
Of course. If you're just trapped in like an echo chamber of your own self, what are you going to learn?
Absolutely. I mean, I played for Coach Weathers, who's a Hall of Fame coach here at Red Bank, and then I worked with a gentleman named Dexter Wood in Buford, Georgia, and I worked with Benny Monroe, who were all Hall of Fame coaches, and it's been a great blessing to be able to do that and learn and see how they've done things and adapt those to,
of course,
what we do.
So, how did playing football apply to your coaching? First of all, how was it playing football? What position did you play? What years, man? I've always wanted to know this.
Well, I was actually a offensive center and defensive tackle here at Red Bank, and from 80 through 82.
Okay.
80, 81, and 82 seasons. And then I went to the University of Memphis in the fall of 83 and stayed at Memphis from 83 to 87.
Did you play for them?
I played for the University of Memphis. I sure
Really?
did.
Okay.
Yeah,
What position did you play?
I was a center.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always called that the last stop before the bus stop. That
Yeah.
meant if you couldn't play there, we're going to send you. Here's your bus ticket.
Of
Go
course.
back home.
Yeah.
So you've done your time.
Of course. Yeah.
But, I was a center.
How was your experience?
I loved it.
Yeah?
I loved it. I mean, I had a blast. I had a great time. Made a lot of really, really good friends.
Yep.
I learned a lot about the game. I learned a lot about life.
Of course.
And so it was a great opportunity to get an education and help myself and move forward with a career.
Yeah. Did that love, you'd say, for football carry on to coaching?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't love it, and if you don't love the game, and you don't love coaching, it's not a hobbyist,
Right.
Because it requires a lot, and you better love what you do.
Yeah, of course. Then what are you doing?
Well, a guy told me a long time ago, says if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
I love that quote. I think I'm not. You know who said that? Coach Davis was just on here the other day and said the exact same thing.
Well, and that's true, because I mean, there's too many people out there that wake up and say they dread going to work.
Yeah, and they're like, I don't want to go to this office job.
I don't want to be there.
Right? Exactly.
Sit there with a pencil sharpener, running it in and out, running it in and out, boring yourself.
Yeah,
to
it's
death.
your choice. You know, I mean, it's all up to you.
Absolutely.
So if you're not doing what you love, man, go do it. Yeah.
Find it. If you can find that, and that's where you're blessed. If you can really find something you love, as you mentioned, you want to go into broadcasting.
Right.
You mentioned that earlier. What an awesome opportunity to do that. Now, you're going to find a lot out about it, and you're going to enjoy it. I was able to do the same thing.
Wow. You see, that's I feel like opportunities like that's coming with this podcast. You know, I'm having a chance to learn if I like media, learn if I like this, to go into news or whatever, you know?
Absolutely.
So being a former Red Bank High School player, would you say the team has exceeded your expectations?
Well, I think you've got to look at Red Bank High School, but Red Bank High School football through a pretty unique lens. If you look at it's over 65% winning percentage.
Wow.
For the school. I think there's over 30 plus playoff appearances by teams that have been here at Red Bank High School. I think there's been close to 10 region or district championships.
Man, you got it all in your head, man.
You got two. You got like, I think 4 or 5 state semifinals.
Yeah.
That's one game away from being in the finals, and then 2 finals, and 1 win and 1.
Hey, we got the jersey right here.
One
Yeah.
runner-up. Absolutely. 2000 was state champions. So, I tell you, the great thing about Red Bank football is this: there's expectations.
Yeah.
We have expectations, and our players know what our expectations are. And every day they go out and try to meet those expectations.
Yep.
And, when you get into coaching, and especially, in high school, you want your group, your class that leaves the school behind.
Right.
Do you want to leave it better than it was when you got there?
Exactly.
It's
right.
kind of like, I was raised, hey, leave that room better than it was when you got it.
Mm-hmm.
Leave that, whatever it is, leave it better than it was, or as good or better than it was when you
just
when
not
you
worse.
It.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that drives us here at Red Bank, is that the class that's coming up is they want to exceed the one before.
The one before that, yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's almost like a competition that'll keep going on, of course.
Yeah, I remember.
And do you use that for motivation to your players?
Well, we do. We talk about it. We talk about what's going to be your legacy.
Yeah.
What's going to be your mark that you put on a program.
Of course.
Even let's say for example, if you're working, if I'm a carpenter, I want to leave the best mark I can on my building that I'm constructing, because that's going to be a direct reflection on me.
Right, because exactly.
What is that reflection?
You want to make a ripple,
Absolutely.
Make something that people can look at,
Absolutely.
100%. So as you're talking about, how do you think the Red Bank football program has changed over time?
Well, I think the standards have maintained.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in it in the 80s. I got friends that were in it in the 70s and then all the way through the 80s, 90s, 2000s and stuff. But I think everybody's expectations are the same. Is
70s, man.
We're going to be successful.
Yeah, of course.
Because we're going to do things the right way.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to be, where we're going to do the little things.
Right.
Because the little things add up. But we're also going to compete with who was before us.
Of course. Yeah.
Because I want to compete.
Of course.
And everybody, if you're no matter what it is, you're going to a job interview. You're in competition.
Yeah, you're competing. Everything almost
with
is.
that guy that just left the office.
Right.
Came in before I did. So I don't know how he did, but I tell you what, I'm gonna make them forget him.
Yeah.
I want them to forget that guy after I leave the room.
Exactly.
That's I think that's the way we approach it.
That's the mentality you have, and that's the mentality you've had.
Got to.
Of course.
You got to, because if you don't, then you're going to be like everybody else. And then, we talk about what being average is. Everybody can be average.
Of course.
I mean, there's a lot of people sitting in chairs breathing right now that are average.
Right.
I can breathe and be average. So let's be better. Let's be more than average.
Right. Of course. And that's a great way to put it. And you motivate your players with those words. And I'm sure every class is going to want to be better than the next now.
That's the way it should be.
So being at Red Bank, and where was it, Memphis?
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite school memories?
Oh, man. Well, first and foremost, I met my wife here.
Wow.
So I met my wife here. We went to school here together. So that is, how do you top that one?
That's beautiful, right? Hey, round of applause.
Yeah.
Look at everybody in the crowd, man. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's amazing. I think she's into charity work, obviously. She kind of took on a charity case.
So
but
how?
Actually, no, but that's a great memory. But we made so many friends. But if you want to look at it from an athletic standpoint, I think probably in 1981, Coach Weathers liked to schedule tough teams to make us better. All right, and we want to play good people. All right, and Coach Weathers started that a long time ago. So we're going to play Oak Ridge High School. Oak Ridge in the 80s, and for a long time still is perennial nationally known program.
Yeah.
Out of the state of Tennessee. Well, Oak Ridge was nationally ranked, and they were on a 75-game home winning streak.
Are you serious?
At their stadium.
Oh, my.
And so we go up there, we're going to visit them, and we didn't know anything. We knew Oak Ridge. We heard about them, but, we didn't have the media like you have now.
Right, of course.
Where you can open a phone and press, and you get instant information.
All their scores and everything, but this was just word of mouth.
It was word of mouth.
Which makes it crazier. That's how good they were.
And then there was national publications and magazines talking about, this running back they had that was this, and then now how good they were.
So they were some bad.
So we just kind of, took it and went, you know what? Prove it. Let's go. I got to prove it to us.
Yeah.
And so, we got behind early in the game, and then we came back and won the game. So we snapped their 75-game home winning streak.
Wow.
That was a really special moment at Red Bank. And then when I was at Memphis, I was fortunate enough to be a part of the Memphis. At that time, it was Memphis State University.
Yeah.
Okay. Before they changed to University of Memphis, but I was at Memphis State at the time, and we're playing number 15 ranked Alabama. In the Liberty Bowl, and we're playing them. And it's funny, people come to Memphis. More people were there to see Alabama than they were Memphis.
Of course,
It's kind of crazy. And so we were kind of, we were excited about that opportunity.
That's so cool. We played in a bowl game. That's awesome.
And so, but we beat them, and we knocked them off. They were 15th in the nation, and we beat them and knocked them off.
Wow.
I had the opportunity to play against Hall of Fame linebacker for Alabama, Derek Thomas. So
that's so cool.
It was pretty cool. So
yeah,
that was a big moment.
That sounds pretty cool. Did you ever meet any NFL players? Did you ever meet anybody like that?
I met a few, yeah.
Yeah?
I met a few, couple here and there.
Here and there, yeah. Hey, you should have been there, man. I don't know what you're doing here.
No, it's all goes back to the measurables.
Yeah.
It's all about measurables.
Of course, yeah. Of course it is, man. Yeah. All right, so we're going to go into a game that I like to call Music Match. I'll show you a series of pictures. You'll tell me the story, and then you'll find a song that goes with it.
Oh, man.
Hey, listen, man, I did some research to get some of these pictures, man. Some of these might be a little bit of throwbacks.
I'm sure they will be.
So we'll put them on the screen when I edit this. So
yeah.
Start off with this one.
Yes, sir.
What is the story, man?
All right. Recruiter from the University of Syracuse came down this past, actually late winter, going into the wintertime. But anyway, he came down to check some of our kids out, and we developed a relationship. Good young man.
Hey, that's nice, man. So he came and kind of scouted some of your players?
Yes, scouting some of our kids.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you think you could think of a song that goes with that?
Let's see, man. Hello.
Hello?
Yeah.
By who?
Got me on that one.
Well, you know what? We'll find it. All right.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
That's a tough one.
Here's another one.
All right, let's see here. All right, that's senior night with our young man, Eddie Moore.
Shout out.
Shout out to Eddie Moore, and then Mr. Weathers, and Coach Davis, and myself. What a great evening. Eddie's a fine young man. Did a great job playing. Was with us for 4 straight years.
Amazing.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, Eddie's one of my favorites. He's a great young man.
Yeah.
Did a great job. Song for it?
Yeah.
Man, let's say, wow.
So you got a pretty good list over there, man.
Yeah, man. I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to figure out, okay, what would apply to what pictures. I didn't know what shots you had.
Yeah, of course.
So, you know, trying to come up with that. But, you know, I guess the song Friends.
Friends?
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Let's do.
You have to check me out on all this. You're going to edit a lot of this.
Oh, I know.
That's where you make your monies in the editing. You
Here
got
we
to
go.
clean it up.
Here's a throwback, man.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
The football days, man. You were just talking about this.
That was the old days,
Was that
man.
the 75 street game?
That was the week after. Actually, no, that was the year after. That was the next year. They came down and played us at our place, and we beat them again, as a matter of fact.
Yeah?
Yeah. Sure
Twice.
did. Beat 'em
That's
back-to-back
crazy.
Years. Man. I guess that one, I don't know, Jason Aldean, My Kind of Party.
Okay, all right. Jason
right.
Aldean, I see.
I mean, you know, we're playing ball right there.
Yeah,
you know?
of
It's
course,
time to
man.
go.
Of course. Do you have any favorite songs you like to put on before games?
Inner Sandman. by
Oh, Metallica. Yeah, there's a stadium that does that, right?
Yeah, Virginia Tech.
Virginia
If you've
Tech,
never
yeah.
seen Virginia Tech's entrance into a football game.
It's so cool.
I don't care if you're a fan or not, and even if you're in your recliner, it'll make the hair on the back of your neck stand up.
Yeah,
man.
dude, they jump. It's like the whole stadium shaking.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Wisconsin does jump around.
Yeah.
So they do that between the third and fourth quarter, so it's pretty cool too.
All right, here's a throwback, man. ETSU.
Oh my goodness, that's me and my bride, my wife at the East Tennessee State game. Yeah, that's awesome.
So one of the reasons I brought that picture was to
Right.
bring up that, I'm going to ETSU. You were there at the
Yeah,
program, so
Absolutely. Hey, sitting on the dock of the bay with Otis Redding.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I'm dig some up for you now.
Yeah.
This is good music right here.
I know. Hey, Otis Redding, man, very talented.
Yeah.
Okay, this picture of you, this is honestly my favorite. Here we go, man. Mr. Gatewood.
Oh, man. Tell you what, you had to dig in some archives of this.
I
But
really
there ain't
did.
but one thing that can really, really, that's definitely Inner Sandman.
Yeah, of course. That is
Right?
definitely Inner
That's
Sandman.
definitely
That
Inner
shows it
Sandman.
very well.
One of the greatest rock bands and rock songs ever, man.
Yeah, Metallica, man. The
Absolutely.
Metallica was great, man. I love
gotta pitch 'em,
Metallica.
right?
Yeah. All right, so that's all the pictures that we
Yeah,
have for you,
thank
man.
God,
You thought I was gonna get younger, man. I don't think I could have.
No, man, you broke some out.
I know that ETS one, man. You had a lot of hair up there,
I had some
man.
flow going, didn't
I
I?
know, you did. You really,
it's like,
really
what happened to
did.
that? Somebody found the clippers, didn't they?
Yeah, I guess so, man.
Absolutely.
Looked like a toupee on top of your head. It
Hey,
looked
man.
unnatural.
So who killed that rat and put it up there? Huh?
Alrighty,
No.
so with the recent criticism of the new Vols quarterback, Nico, I can never say his name, but you know it, and his decision to go to the trade portal, what are your thoughts on the NIL and its regulations and how it's changing the world of football?
Well, Nico Lamalova.
Alamalova.
Yeah.
Alamalova. There we go. I swear I practiced before the show,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, I'm going to say it, but now
did
it's just
good.
like, thank you.
Thank you. Dave, don't mimic him. What bad business sense that was.
Right.
I mean, you go from a state like state of Tennessee, all right, not to mention, all right, we talk about athletics and loyalty and accountability. Okay, well,
Right.
this thing's just thrown that all out the window. But let's take this consideration from a business standpoint. All right, this young man's getting paid X number of dollars. I don't even know what. I've heard so many different figures there is, right?
A good amount.
But he's being paid handsomely to play a game, right?
Right.
In college. Well, he wants to renegotiate his deal. Well, he renegotiates his deal, but then he walks out the door and he goes to California. Well, California has the highest tax rate of just about any state in the country. Income tax, individual income tax.
He's losing money.
Compared to Tennessee, which
Right.
has no individual
It's
income
ridiculous.
tax. It's like, wait, not only did you get less money, but you're getting taxed.
You're getting taxed on it.
top of it.
Exactly. So it's less
Yeah.
money.
So
Exactly.
whoever the decision maker in there, I feel for those that individual because that's a bad business decision.
Well, and it's the NIL, like you said, it's just thrown loyalty out of the window for college football.
Well, and now you got people on the other side now, and look at it from both sides. You got people on the other side going, well, what about these coaches that take off and take these million dollar deals?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That is. It's free enterprise. They're able to do that. So why shouldn't the players be able to do that? Okay, I'm okay with that. But then all of a sudden we've let the two. I think what's happened is there's not enough research went into how to do this properly.
Yeah.
Because we're trying, like right now, we're trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Yep.
And you can't do it.
No.
It's out.
You've already brought this out. Exactly.
And now you're gonna get the federal government involved. So then you get the federal government involved and all these, these entities that, hey man, I was fortunate enough to get a grant and aid scholarship.
Yeah.
I felt like I had everything I needed.
Right.
Got an education. I got my classes. I got my food. I got all my stuff taken care of. And I walked out of there with a degree. That's the bottom line.
Right.
Okay? You got to look at that. You got to get a degree out of this thing. Just get an education because you'll have that in your pocket for the rest of your life. You're not going to be able to play this game very long.
No.
Or any sport very long.
You couldn't be. You're not going to always be the next starting quarterback at the Tennessee Titans.
Absolutely. You ever seen an hourglass?
Yes.
Where the sand runs through
Yes,
it?
I do.
Well, eventually that sand gets to the bottom and it's done.
Yep.
Well, it happens in sports like that.
Your time,
that quick.
it's short. Yeah.
But so anyway, I hate where it's at, but at the same time, it's free market, and they just got to figure out a way to balance it. And I don't know how they're going to do it because
I was
crazy.
talking to Asher Bell, great player on the Red Bank football team.
Absolutely.
He's been on the podcast before, but he was telling me that they should if they're going into the trade portal, they should be able to cut off their NIL deal. They shouldn't be able to be in the trade portal while they have a running NIL.
Well, and I think they have. If you think about this though, when they go into that portal, from a school that's already got them on an NIL. Now, if the NIL is separate, and let's say, for example, let's say Nico, he signed an NIL deal outside of Tennessee. He signed with a shoe company.
Yeah, Nike or something. Yeah,
like Nike. All right. Well, that's between Nico and Nike.
Yeah.
But if he's on an NIL deal through the University of Tennessee, that contract will stop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
You follow me?
Uh-huh.
That will stop. You're not paying you out of our NIL.
Uh-huh.
Okay? So then you move forward on that. So there's a lot of stuff you got.
Yeah.
And then you got lawyers involved. You got to have lawyers involved. And that's
dealing with money in anything is already hard enough.
Absolutely.
And especially dealing with it in a sport like this, when there's so much heart put into it, and there's so much when Nico left, man, posts like that about him leaving and him being a traitor and all of this, man. And I'm seeing these things and they hate him now, man. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? They hate him.
Well. And that's the thing about it. It's unfortunate because he's a young man.
Exactly.
He's a very young man, probably 22, 23 years old. A lot of times they're making decisions that they're not, sure about.
Or fully in charge of.
Well, fully in charge of. Exactly right. And a lot of times the thing about sometimes we live in the moment too much.
Of course.
We got to look down what's down the future, what's down the road.
Mm-hmm.
What's this decision? How is this decision going to impact me at a later date?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you've only when you're born with a name.
Mm-hmm.
And so how you live and how you do things throughout the whole course of your life, those things are going to be tied to your name.
Yep.
for the remainder of your life.
Yeah.
And so what do you want tied to that?
That's a great way to look at it.
So,
and I mean, as a young guy myself, I mean, younger than him even, like money, you know what I'm saying? I understand making that decision based on that. Cause dude, I see $10, man, and I'm like, what do you want me to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I understand that money is a driving factor for so many people on what to do.
That's what pushes it all.
Exactly.
I mean, think about this. Where's this money coming from? I mean, if people weren't going to the games, if people weren't buying advertising, if people weren't sponsoring these stadiums, if people weren't doing all these things, that money wouldn't be there.
No.
You know, so now it's economics. It's driving it all.
It is. It's like a whole economic system over there in football. You know.
Yeah. Well, look at basketball. If you watch the NCAA tournament, I love college sports.
Yeah.
I love college sports immensely, but you watch the basketball tournament. I think Houston, University of Houston had a guy, was the only guy in the whole Final Four that had been to a Final Four before, and he had played the year before at Florida Atlantic or Florida International, who was in the Final Four the year before.
Yeah.
And he portaled out and went to Houston.
It's crazy.
You know, that guy's dude played in back-to-back Final Fours with two different teams.
It's wild.
You never would have thought that.
No.
Oh.
And like, this is my last thing about the NIL. I used to tune into college sports, and many people that I know would tune into college sports to say, I love watching college more because they're fighting for something. They're not just playing for money.
Right.
They're fighting to get into the NFL. You know what I'm saying? But the NIL has destroyed that.
I think you're exactly right. I mean, you know, you look at the number of times kids will be, you know, on one roster going to another roster within a year. I think the public and people have handled it pretty well, but at the same time, there is that little bit of a gray cloud hanging over the whole thing,
of course.
and the fact that takes place.
All right, so we're actually going to be wrapping up here soon, so I'm going to ask you a quick question. Wait, okay, hold on one second. If you had to choose one teammate you've played in your life to come back and coach with you, who would that be and why?
Oh, wow. Golly.
Been many, right?
I've had quite a few. I mean, I got a bunch of, we have a group. I'm not going to say chat because I just can't do that. I can say we have a group text message with a bunch of former linemen that I went to school with at Memphis.
Yeah.
And some great friends that we keep in touch with. Man, former teammate. I've had so many. It's hard. That's a tough one, man.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I played with a bunch of guys. A bunch of guys that I knew that walked on. I had so much respect for those young guys because they didn't get a dime. They loved the game.
Yeah.
And those cats loved it so much. But, man, that's a hard one. Evan, you threw me a curve.
Yeah.
You threw me a curve. I mean, it's just a tough one. I mean, my roommate, Tim Borky, I lived with him. He's living in Pennsylvania now. I'd love to coach with him. I got a buddy here in town, Tim Long, I played with at Memphis. A buddy of mine down in North Alabama, Boaz. He was great.
Shout out all these people, man.
Reed
Shout out
Bennett,
every single one. Reed Bennett.
Doc Shirley. I mean, there's a lot of dudes, man. It's hard.
You'd have a super team, man. Yeah, right? You'd come back,
I don't know what we'd get accomplished.
Just be messing around. Yeah, of course.
Times.
All right, so Coach Gatewood, we're going to be wrapping up right here, man. So what would you say your message to the youth is?
Well, I think the most important thing is live where your feet are. Be where your feet are, you know? And then, like you said, we're closing out. But it's never goodbye. It's just till next time.
Of course. It always is, man. So this was Evan's game plan. This was Coach Gatewood's game plan. But never lose your game plan. And we're done.